views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. Tonight we're going to do something a little different from what we normally do, though we have done a number of shows like this over the last 22 plus years. The Millennion Art Academy in the Bronx has a wonderful arts program, and as a result, several of their students have won awards and have had their work displayed in some very impressive venues, including the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So tonight we will meet some of those youngsters and take a look at their award-winning artwork. We'll also meet their principal and art teacher who works hard at helping her students develop those skills. Please join me in welcoming them, the principal of Millennium Art Academy, Mr. Herman Guy. Nice to have you, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And the visual art teacher and peer collaborative teacher leader at the Millennium Art Academy, Ms. Laura Blau. Ms. Blau, nice to have you.
Thank you so much.
So you have this really cool art school, don't you?
I do.
Tell me a little bit about, in general, about the school. How many students are in the school? And does every student who comes in become an artist or interested in art? Just give us a little framework for what you do.
So Millennium Art Academy is an art-themed high school. We are located around the Castle Hill section of the Bronx in what used to be the Stevenson High School. It is now Stevenson campus. We have approximately 450 students. We offer art for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. All students are expected to take art, and most of them thrive in it, and Ms. Blau really helps them to take their artistic endeavors to a whole new level in the school.
Do the students submit like portfolios or demonstrate an interest in art, or is as long as they say, hey, this was the school I'd like to go to, and then they just get enrolled?
They basically select it as one of their choices. Most of them do come in with an interest in the arts, and once they arrive in Millennium Art Academy, they participate in a multitude of artistic shows, artistic awards, artistic competitions, all types of opportunities that both of our art teachers present for them.
Many of the schools that we were talking about this actually before the show, many of the schools that were created to be specialized type high schools in this way weren't able to maintain that specialty because either the principal didn't have a knowledge of it or they couldn't find the right staff. Yet this school has done pretty well with art. In other words, you don't see it, I'm guessing you don't see it kind of disintegrating into something else in the future.
We've actually made some recent changes that I think is going to even improve it further.
Yay.
We're about to expand some of the arts program within the school, and we've really stayed true to our vision of using the arts as a means for students to engage in humanistic endeavors.
Ms. Blau, talk to me about teaching young people art. Why is it a joy for you? I'm making a big assumption. Why is it a joy for you? And what do you see in the students when you work with them that helps transform them and, even I'm assuming make your life better as well?
Well, as I tell my students, I became a teacher of high school students because when I was studying to be a teacher, I revisited some of my journals of being a high school student, and I wrote that art was my only voice. And I've really found that to be very, very true in the way that I help my students. I decided I have to be that mentor that I didn't quite have, as completely as I am for my own students. I wanted to give back and give that to students because I feel like teenagers, they really have a special voice, and if it's not unleashed, over time it becomes harder and harder for one to express themselves from art. There's a freedom that teenagers still have, and so what I do is I really try to drag that out of them. So I give assignments where there's just multiple points of them entering and multiple just multiple answers. There's not one right answer. And from that, I really help every student to find a way to make art relevant in their lives. And for most of them, I think they even surprise themselves when they start working and they realize they have it inside them.
Give me either a gimmick you use or a little reasoning that you use or an exercise that you use to help them, because they start out, and if they draw like me and what Mr. Guy said, like stick figures, but then you help them get that out of them. What do you do?
The biggest thing that I do is that I teach my students about symbolism, right? So it's not all about copying a picture perfectly, and it's not all about being technically perfect, right? Everyone's at a different level, and everyone is just as valid as an artist as everybody else. So I really try to implore upon my students that all types of material can make art, and just really that every voice counts. And what happens in my classroom is that they become a collaborative community right from the beginning. I really stress the idea of discussing ideas, and when students start to realize that the ideas in their head are valid, then from there anything becomes possible.
She's such a good teacher. You could tell right away.
She's great, and I would like to add that she allows our students to use the arts to reveal their humanity.
Well,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you one more question, then we're going to go back to the boss about some of the business of doing this. Why is art so important, not only for the students here who really have an interest in it and we'd like to think an affinity and some particular ability, but why is art so important for really every young person in the Bronx, even outside of Millennium Art Academy?
Art is important because it gives all young people, and all the young people I work with, I can attest this, it gives them a voice and it gives them a sense of confidence. And for a lot of my students, sometimes the way they learn best is actually visual. So some of them, maybe they might be lacking in an academic area, but somehow in art they are able to shine in a way that they may not be able to, really showcase their opinions and their voices.
In terms of putting an art school together or maintaining one, which I'm assuming you're hoping to do, resources. You've got to have pens and paper and paints and ceramics. I don't know whatever else you do. Is that a bigger challenge for you maybe than another principal? Although I was thinking, somebody else is going to need a science lab and they're going to have to pay for that. Talk to me about resources.
Sometimes resources can be challenging. I, at my school, have what I call a business outreach program that I myself do and reach out to various organizations, various companies for donations. And with those donations, artistic or otherwise, it helps the school maybe shuffle some funds for some of the art materials that Ms. Blau and our other art teacher may need for some of the projects that the students are working on within the school. As you know, unfortunately, part of the funding that generally gets cut funds as far as first are arts and or athletics. Now,
the host sighs a big sigh and gets uncomfortable. Go ahead, I'm not happy.
Fortunately, we have a chancellor and a district that is really involved in the arts and is trying to promote the arts and develop them further within the school. So that hasn't been an issue, but one of the challenges we always face on the state or federal level is the diminishing of funds. So I make a plea to everyone to really request from your local representatives if they cannot make those cuts, and or anyone who feel free to donate to our school as well.
And I'm going to do equal time. He's such a good principal. We're going to spend less time with you and more time with the students, so don't you folks go away. You're going to see the artwork. We're going to meet the students. Talk to me about why these 4 students who we're going to see are particularly special, and you, and I mentioned it at the top, are particularly proud of all the places they've been. You just told me about a Congressional Art Competition. Tell me what's going on. Why are we doing this show?
Okay, so these 4 students represent a number of students who have really won a tremendous number of awards. So I take these kids and I want to make sure that they have every opportunity to exhibit as any other school, regardless of how much funding we're getting, regardless of how much time they have for their art, regardless of any number of circumstance. So our kids compete every year in National Scholastic, and we've had a lot of students on display at the Met and other venues.
I want to just interject before you keep going. The notion of competition is an interesting one. Does that inspire students to maybe do a little better or try a little harder? Because, the idea, well, my picture's better than yours, I can't even get into that. But I know that the notion of competition is a good one in education.
Well, for our students, I've tried to help create a culture at our school where the kids really want to get their pieces ready for me to go showcase outside the school. Because to me, I want them to increase their level of professionalism. That's like the big goal of being in my class. And even when students finish my class, they always come back and we keep working. So
Right.
it's a trajectory of 4 years that I spend with these kids, developing them into the artists that they are becoming and
Or
that
can
they're meant to
become.
be. Yes, exactly, unlocking their potential.
Do
correct.
all the students, well, we'll ask them, so I don't need to ask you, but I mean, in general, do they want to like do that for a profession, or in your mind, are you using that for a greater good in their lives?
Okay, some of them do, but what I really try to implore upon the students is that they can apply their creative skills to everything in life. So I'm trying to turn them into creative problem solvers, teaching them that they can, no matter what. So the competitions serve as something to motivate them. So we just came from the Congressional Art Competition at
And now they're going to be
College.
on TV? What
Yes,
could
and
be,
now
what
they're
could
going to
be
be on
worse
TV.
than that?
It was a long day, right?
Before we wrap up your segment, Mr. Guy, I'm going to give you a chance to dream a little bit. What would you do next if you had maybe the resource? Is it a matter of bringing more students in? Is it a matter of better facilities? What would you like? And then we're putting it out, so somebody make it happen for 'em.
Okay. Well, the mission of Millennion Art Academy is to prepare students for college, career, and community via artistic engagement. So any support that the school can receive for that to happen is greatly appreciated. And that could
Some
be,
of it's financial.
that could be financial donations, that could be artistic donations, that could be donations of one's time. Perhaps there are artists out there, singers, theater artists, or photographers, anything that could come in and enhance the repertoire of art that my students already
We
possess.
are going to thank Herman Guy and
Thank you.
Laura Blau from the Millennium Art Academy for bringing the students here and for the great work you do. And I'm going to say it, for saving the borough of the Bronx. We need more and more and more and more of this. And I can't say it enough, but you guys are just doing a great job. I hope all the people watching on TV are standing up and applauding for these folks. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to meet what it's really all about, the young people who are doing great work.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on a sidewalk?
Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend. What if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Aren't we having a wonderful time tonight? We are with the art students from the Millennion Art Academy. And so let's see, there's Alejandra Jimenez, who's top right over there. And there is David Agoha, who's over there. And let's see, I want to get Nicole's last name. I've got it here somewhere. Nicole, what is your last name? Nicole Chow. I do have that on my paper. And also Javon Hall is with us. Alejandra, we're going to start with you. Tell me just a little bit, why do you like to paint, draw? Why are you an art student?
I didn't realize that I liked these till I entered high school. I was really into drawing and all that. And I found out that it was a really easier way for me to express myself and share my story about who I am, where I came from, and relate all my art to all that.
What did you ever draw or paint beforehand? And then, I guess it backs up the question that we asked the principal earlier. Then why did you go to this school? Because you wanted to, or because it was kind of a nice idea, or gee whiz, maybe I ought to go to that school?
Well, I did my research and I looked up.
And it worked out.
And I thought it was a really good art school.
Do you feel that you are doing better, like you're a better artist than you were?
Yeah, of course. I used to be just a self-taught kid that didn't know how to draw before, and now,
Well, they have just put one of your paintings up. You could probably see it there on the screen.
Yeah.
I think all this work, and I don't want to overemphasize it. This is just a beautiful piece of work. Tell me a little bit about that painting.
That sunset is it represents my two worlds. It's called My Two Worlds.
Let's go back to that other picture, folks. Go ahead.
One part is the city, which represent New York and like where I live now, and the tropical with the palm trees and all that represents my native country, which is Dominican Republic.
Can we put that picture back up there? We kind of lost it real quick. So, did you imagine that, or was that based on something you had seen at some point? There it is.
It's kind of both. My sister inspired me. She did a piece similar to it.
Your sister? Older, younger?
Older.
Okay.
So it inspired me. So how I left something back, and now I moved on to. I came here.
And it was just paint. Like I wish I knew the different types of paint.
Acrylic.
Like it's acrylic paint. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have you guys fill in the blanks on this thing. And then there was the second one. Let's put that second one up, which I thought was also pretty interesting. That was the one that had the McDonald's logo on there. What is that?
It's called I'm Loving It. It's I got inspired by the movie Super Size Me.
Sure.
And it's just how big companies like McDonald's in this case have such like a large impact on the world,
Sure.
but still
They control things.
Yeah, but at the end the people who actually need it don't get like.
And that was painted on there. Some of them look. That's how it works. It was a paint, or it was a collage.
That
of some
was
sort?
color pencils.
Oh, color pencils. Well, anyway, can everybody have a nice round of applause for Alejandra and the great work she does? Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you'd pass the mic to David, then David could have his say. Hi, David. How are you?
I'm good.
Hold the mic up nice there. There you go. Tell me a little bit about you. You were honorable mention National Scholastic 2016. By the way, Alejandra got a gold key for National Scholastic 2017 work displayed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Just tell me a little bit about you, why you got started, why you paint, what inspires you?
Originally, art was more of a hobby to me. It wasn't really something that I was really focused on, but it was when I really got into high school at my 10th grade, when I saw there was more creativity and more liberty with my art.
It was like it opened the doors for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, tremendous.
So I was able to do something that was not restricted to my mindset. Like I was able to express it on a piece of paper, and show something where I didn't know can be considered beautiful.
Well, I'm going to, and here's what is called Guerrilla Warfare. I'm going to tell you that if I wanted to do something like that, I would not be able to get there, anywhere near there, no matter how much I wanted to express myself. Tell me about the techniques that maybe that you used in that guerrilla warfare, and folks, don't hesitate to put those up. I want to see that guerrilla thing. Go ahead.
The technique that we used was a cutout, meaning that we had to use black paper, simply just cut it out and have white paper over it, and use watercolor paint in order to really show the effect of it. And yeah, that's simply its creation.
Has your artwork improved since you've been into school, and if so, how?
I believe it has improved tremendously because, of course, when I got into school, I did not focus on detail in artwork. I simply just drew something as the most general concept as possible.
Right.
But now I'm focused on detail, accuracy, and everything else.
Let's put up the Roar of the Young King, which is a collage. Talk to me about the use of collage as opposed to, let's say, what Alejandra did with paint.
It was more, I had to find the right textures that had more similarities between them, but also include some allusion to it, something that's a bit more far-fetched than what it should be, that, you know, just pieces of paper can be considered art in that way.
Very nice. Thank you, David. And if you'd pass the microphone to Nicole Chow, that would be great. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, how are you?
Now you know what kinds of questions we're going to ask.
Yeah.
So tell me about you and why you got into being an artist and what it's like at Millennium trying to do stuff that means something.
Okay, so I agree with David and Alejandra. Before coming into Millennium, I wasn't really that experienced into art. I just knew how to draw and just the basics of painting. But here at Millennium, I actually developed at a really high speed my artistic values, since I don't only do paintings or drawings now, but I also do photography, and I recently started with documentary and filmmaking through programs I got in through the school.
And we're showing some of the pictures that you've done. Some of them are so beautiful. I wish folks take a little more time with these pictures. We don't want to flash through them. We want people to really enjoy them. Tell me a little bit about how it has changed you. Aside from, we'll make the assumption that everybody's artwork got better, but talk about how it has changed you a little bit. And let's put some of those pictures up for longer. We want to see these pictures. Go ahead.
I found a voice somehow in art. You know, I can express a lot of things that you can't really with words. Art is really broad. It's not only a painting, it's not only a drawing, it's also the visual and the musical part of it too.
Now, what do you mean by that? I'm not letting you get away with that.
Okay, so visual, like I started with photography too and documentary. So with documentary, it's actually shared my voice and my story in a way.
It sounds like, just to reinforce that it's opened up a whole world for you, right? It really has. Do you think about being an artist in the future, or do you feel like, well, I'll do art, but maybe I'll go into something else? Or do you really want to do more of it? Sounds to me like you want to do a lot of it.
Yeah, I think that art is really, like I said before, is really broad. So even filmmaking is really art for me. So I think I could find a way for art to be my future. I don't want to get rid of it.
I'm going to guess that you'll never be able to, the way you've expressed it. And I know that I'm going to miss some of the credits, but let's see. You won a Silver Key National Scholastic Award, two honorable mention awards, all kinds of different things. You were part of an exhibit of Millennium Art Academy student books in a gallery on the Pratt Brooklyn campus. Congratulations for all
Thank
you're doing.
you.
Okay, and now pass the microphone to Javon. Javon, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Tell me a little bit about you and what what inspires you to make art and be an artist.
Well, what inspires me to become an artist is that I just love to draw, and the things around the world kind of inspire me, like so many fantastic things, such as like the Eiffel Tower, the pyramids.
Things of beauty.
Yeah, most.
See, it's very interesting because I think many people would make the assumption that, well, things are going on in the world and there's really bad things. But you're saying let's emphasize some good things, the beautiful accomplishments of the world, of et cetera, et cetera. Now, you won this Ezra Jack Keats bookmaking competition. which was really supposedly an extraordinary thing. There's a video of it. Tell me what this bookmaking competition was about.
Well, it was about to make a book which is mostly either based on a story or some visuals of some sort, and I decided to make it into a encyclopedia about different monsters from around the world.
Different monsters. I do politics here a lot. I mean, we could do some of them too, but go ahead.
And I decided to go in the category from A to Z, and I decided to choose monsters well known and some uncommon.
Why do you think it did so well? Like, from your perspective, I know you produced it and you said, oh, well, this is good, but then it won. Why do you think, like, what was great about it that made it win?
Well, what made it great in my
Bad
opinion?
boast.
Well, what made it great in my opinion is that I took enough time to actually draw each monster very detailed and gave them a wonderful color palette and,
Great
style.
How long does it take? Now we're showing some of the work that you've done. How long does it take you to sit down and do some of that? Does it come very quickly, or do you struggle over it?
Well, actually, it actually does come pretty quick.
I hate that.
Well, I actually do think a little bit, but as soon as I get the idea, I just sketch it down and then start inking it and then painting it.
And here's some of the now. What is this? It's kind of like a book, but animals coming out of the book. Explain what that is.
Oh, okay. Well, that book it's an altered book, so it's not like.
Say that, ultra.
It's an altered book.
Oh, altered book. Okay.
So it's kind of like it's not supposed to be flipped open, but you can just use it to, the word I'm trying to look for, express your feelings into something. And I decided to express my feelings for mythological monsters and just show a few monsters on that book.
Right. Listen, I wish we had more time for each of you, but with all the folks here, because we have parents, we got everybody here today. How about a nice round of applause for our, that's it, that's what we want to hear. For Javon Hall, Nicole Chow, Alejandra, your last name you got to tell me, I'm sorry, Jimenez, and David Agoha. These folks are the young people who are going to save our borough, and I really appreciate the great work that you do. Okay,
Thank you.
Folks, there it is, the Millennium Art Academy. If you have further questions or comments on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, then send us an email at BronxTalk@BronxNet.org. You can send us a tweet at BronxTalk, or you post them on our Facebook page, and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. Our archives are at BronxNet.org. You'll find Bronx Talk on the lower right navigation bar. Now, next week, we will talk about technology in the Bronx, and we'll feature an exclusive look at a new Everything Bronx web portal that will change the way we access information in our home borough of the Bronx. So that will be a different show, just like tonight was, but also very, very important. Thanks to our director, who was William, and also Brianna, who's usually our director, but she's running camera, and to Lindsay, who's our producer, that put all this stuff together. And thanks to the kids, thanks to the parents, thanks to the administrators, and thanks to you. Good night.